Today is Thursday, the 27th of September 2018. Good night to our viewers and PEP members. Welcome to Frontline. My name is Janice Leamonda Creaky, and I am the Public Relations Officer of the Progressive Empowerment Party. And my guest tonight is Richard Blaze, Acting Chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party. Hi, Richard.
Hi, Janice.
Lovely to have you on my show today.
Absolutely. Equally lovely to be here with you.
I know that we said that we wanted to take a look at China's role as a key lender to countries around the world and how it has affected those countries. We have to remember that we are just a dot in the ocean, and China can gobble us up and spit us out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Someone posted on Facebook an article written by Ria Tate dated May 24th, 2018, titled 10 Chinese Factories in New Industrial Park. Imbued details benefits of PM's trip. But we're going to stick a pin in that for the moment. Stay tuned for this show next week, Thursday. And I also want to say that the previous Prime Minister, Mrs. Kamala Bissessa, also visited China as well during her term in office. And there were several MOUs that were signed with the Chinese government. That we will talk about next week, Thursday, so stay tuned. Tonight, we will be taking the opportunity to talk about national security. So let's take a look at the Ministry of National Security and what the ministry is responsible for. Because we have a way of saying national security, but do we really understand what we mean or what the term means, national security? Up to 1970, the Ministry of National Security was called the Ministry of Home Affairs, and the following divisions are now in the portfolio of the minister: the General Administration of the Ministry, Immigration Division, Strategic Services Agency, Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force, Trinidad and Tobago Forensic Science Center, National Emergency Management Agency, Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, National Security Council Secretariat, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. Their core values are professionalism, fairness, people-centric, integrity and ethical behavior, and teamwork. The only time you will hear about what is really going on in the various divisions is when there is a protest or prisoners escaping. Well, we certainly hear about crime, which falls under the purview of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We are yet to see any kind of activity when it comes to securing our borders. Now, as you will remember, during some time last year, we came up with some really nice poster type, flyers, where we talked about what can be classed, in terms of voting for a better country, there were a couple of things that needed to be addressed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up each flyer, and Richard is going to state briefly and explain to you what it is the PEP policy is. Now, would you say that you've been hearing these policies surfacing under other political parties lately?
Interesting statement. Yes, it has recently. I mean, it's been done on almost on a daily basis now. We started to see it kind of like trickling up here and here, up here and there, but it's almost on a daily basis now. You hear either the Prime Minister or the leader of the opposition or a member in the opposition literally quoting the policies word for word.
Yes. We just turn this off.
So that in itself could say a lot with what these policies hold, the value that these policies really bring.
That's right. And it's really amazing, you know. So we are going to reinforce the fact that these policies belong to the Progressive Empowerment Party. And I'm going to hold up each one. And as I said, Richard is going to explain to you, our viewers, what it really means. Okay?
But before we get to that, Janice, let's attempt to give everyone a clear understanding of what exactly is a national security policy. It's a policy that really maps out the framework for the protection of a country from what we would say internal and external threats.
Right.
And you embrace all the respective arms of the protective agencies, as you just listed right here,
right,
and come together to form a strategic plan to address what your concerns are. Now, we know what our concerns are in Trinidad and Tobago. It's the illegal trade of firearms and narcotics, and of course human trafficking.
That's right.
You analyze where they're coming from. How are you gaining access? Of course, we are a major transshipment hub for illegal narcotics. I'll be very careful when I say this. We are fortunate that Trinidad is just a dot in the whole scheme of things. The drugs, as we know, are coming in primarily via the sea. So you analyze where they're coming from and what you have to do to treat with your issues. Now that starts from your peripheral, from your outer side, and then the policy has to engage, working closer in circles, coming in closer till you get to the hub, which in our case, as we have always said, is dealing with the youth. Treating with children from education, go straight back up, because what you produce here, that's the future.
Correct.
That our children are the future. So I just wanted everybody to have that understanding of what a national security, and we'll talk a little bit more of the benefits of a strong and effective national security policy.
Yes. So the first one I'm going to put up here. Would you be able to zoom into that? Or do I have to go closer to the camera so people can see it? Yes? Okay.
So, securing the borders. Right now, as we just said, our primary problem is the illegal trade of guns, narcotics, human trafficking.
Right.
Where is it coming from? The sea. We know where it's coming from. We have just identified some 140 different ports, inlet. Well, I don't really want to say ports, but inlets where these items are coming from. And it's been done so blatantly now.
Yes.
You saw the other night on one of the television stations that these Venezuelans are smuggling. They were smuggling a whole cow.
Yes.
In broad daylight. So, when you identify where the illegal items are coming from, you need to treat with, how are you going to treat with that? And that is, we are saying that you need to cut off the supply, to stem the supply of ammunition, firearms, drugs, trafficking. You need to see the borders. Our borders are like wet toilet paper, really and truly. And they have been, and continue to be, for decades and decades and decades. You have the administrations now talking about it, purchasing more offshore patrol vessels, but that's another issue that we'll get into, because I have my own challenges with that right now. But it's just not being done. So you have to start with securing your borders. All national countries around the world, islands, countries that are, everyone protects their borders. I don't know why, but I guess that's a whole different conversation. So you start by sealing your borders with the establishment, as we say, with a maritime wall, right around, and you have mechanisms in place that you're able to detect when crafts are breaching your borders, and you have mechanisms in place so that you can respond to that and intercede. And
now that is really going to be the job of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard.
It's a combined effort. You have Coast Guard, you have immigration, you have the military. It depends on what your plan is. Primary here would be the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. You have other agencies involved in terms of detection, equipment, radars. You have the Air Guard patrolling, the air assisting in locating and identifying. So there are various arms that would come in. You have immigration in terms of what to deal with, to help assist with the human trafficking side of it. So those are the primary arms that would be involved.
Right.
You have the Coast Guard, the police, and immigration, air guard, that would be involved in that part of it in terms of detecting where these items are, illegal items are coming from, intercepting, apprehending, and prosecuting, and through the whole process.
Right. Because while I was looking at the PC just now is because I was looking at a document that talked about the expenditure and the figures that was published showing how the monies are being spent by the Ministry of National Security. And I came across a document that talked about, because you talked about also having the right equipment, radars and so on. And I saw there was a line for that sort, the same sort of equipment, and you're talking millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right. So if we have budgeted for this kind of equipment and so on, why is it that we still have this influx of illegal immigrants, as well as now we have illegal animals coming in through Cedrus?
Janice, nothing works. The radar system is not fully functional. The Coast Guard is terribly handicapped. We're in negotiations now for the purchase of two offshore patrol vessels. That is not needed right now. We don't need offshore patrol vessels. We need interceptors, crafts that can intercept these patrol boats, these boats that are transporting these drugs and people, to intercept them. We need boats that are out there. When these boats that are coming in with these drugs are averaging between 65 and 60 to 65 miles an hour, 70 miles in some instances. So we need boats that can do that.
But I also heard that talk as well that they were using submarines. Submarine type vessels.
I don't know I don't have information that is being done here. In the drug trade, yes, it's being done.
Yes.
The drug cartels have hired engineers from all over the world, Russia, and wherever have you, and these crafts are being built for one-off trips. They make one shipment and then they're destroyed.
Right.
They're constructed in deep, heavy forested and jungle areas. I don't know that they're being done here. As you know, the main transshipment is between Venezuela to Trinidad, and in a 28-foot pirogue, you can do that in a 45-minute run, or depending on weather conditions. And so once again, this is what I'm saying, because the proximity is so small, we know where these things are coming from. Everybody knows that. The ports and the avenues and the little inlets that we're using right now. So what I would reiterate that we need is these fast patrol vessels that can intercept them upon detection. Boats that are capable of accomplishing 70 to 80 miles an hour. With, of course, trained personnel to man the crafts, and that can deal with those situations. But the problem here is gross mismanagement. You were looking at the figures there, and you a few times where you almost fell off of your chair reading some of those astronomical, from not being able to even identify or understand the terminologies that were being used.
Yes.
To try to understand the type of expenditure. And when you go down to the Coast Guard now, these boats are parked up.
Yes.
Everything from lack of or no maintenance program, but we're buying more.
Yes.
So why don't the money that we're invested in these offshore patrol vessels, why don't we repair what we have here that is adequate to do the job?
Yeah, that's correct. You know, it really makes you wonder. And, you know, we talk about the illegal guns coming in, and, you know, the fact that it's not the little man in the street who have the guns that are bringing in the guns, because they can't afford bringing in those guns.
And everybody knows that. I mean, at the end of the day, these are the foot soldiers, the people that are peddling these weapons. Those are the foot soldiers, and it goes a lot higher than that. Some may not be in Trinidad and Tobago, obviously, and some are here, and that also has to be dealt with. What we may more commonly term as white collar crime, and that has to be dealt with as well, and that is all part of the the system that needs to be employed, not from not by the police, but from a national security, because that's an internal threat. When those things that you see for yourself, the violence, look at the most unfortunate incident, again, that happened yesterday.
Yes.
Okay?
The driver.
Those
Yeah,
things
driver.
fuel the violence in Trinidad and Tobago. And it, as you say, it's been done by the cartels that are gaining and fighting to gain control of more and more territory in Trinidad. Opposing sides, and that's where the violence is.
Yes. It's unfortunate.
But if you cut it off from entering the country, what is going to happen? That's just one of the ways to look at it.
Correct.
And again, it starts with your borders.
Borders.
Your ports, containers coming in here and leaving the ports that are... Now we know are contaminated. Right? And the unions are telling you, well, they can't use the x-ray, it's bad for your scrotum. Really? Okay. No problem, we'll deal with that. In the meantime, while we're sorting out that issue, let's unstuff the containers.
Yes. But you see, to me, that's just an excuse.
Of course it is.
Right?
This is what I'm saying.
I am wondering if, because I know there was a big ceremony sometime with late last year, where the U.S. Embassy was involved, and they did a big thing to show that they were going to now start using the scanners.
Yeah. And those scanners were sitting here for 6 years prior to that. 6 years.
I remember that. And so my question would be: Are they really using it still? I mean, or was it just a show for the chief of mission here and a distraction for the people?
The question has to be whether or not, if it is being used right now, how long before we hear it's going to be parked up again for no maintenance? Because to me, that seems to be the plan of this administration. Create the problem and then present yourself as the solution.
Right.
So you bring the equipment in, you just run it to the ground, and it creates a very unpleasant atmosphere. It creates a lot of problems in the entity that you put it into work, where the services just drop and drop and drop until you come riding in like a knight in shining armor with new equipment, new state-of-the-art equipment that costs millions and millions above and beyond what really should be spent on just maintaining what you have right now, which is adequate to do the job. And that's the mismanagement and corruption that we live in now, we waddle in.
Okay, so the second file. Can we get a close-up, you think? Yes? All right. This is it here.
So this is where we talk about home ownership, making it affordable to everyone. I mean, this should be a lot lower down, not deprioritizing it, but in terms of the scheme of how you would be doing things. Because if we were to look at it here, and I just want to do it this way so that our guests, our viewers tonight can understand. We talk here about undoing and redoing the police service, right? We spoke about that. We have been talking about that for the longest while right now. As in every police service around the world, you have a corrupt entity. Trinidad and Tobago is not the only place. Our own is quite severe, and we have been saying that in order for the police to function, the good police officers, one of the first things that needs to be done is to bring in a foreign entity who are purpose trained for this type to investigate, identify, and root out the corrupt elements in the police. Now, let me be very careful here. I am not suggesting in any way that the new Commissioner of Police does not have that as part of his plan. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that this is just, we're discussing our policies, and that is what we have been saying, that
Correct.
to bring in an agency that knows, because all of our policies, basically, the procedures that we want to adopt is copy and paste from systems that have proven to be successful around the world. NYPD, Singapore, Australia, you know. So you root out that element, and now you have the opportunity for the good police officers to do what they signed up to do, to be as simple as you possibly can. You revise your recruitment and training programs, and a host of other programs that have to be implemented to get your police up to where they need to be with using modern day, not only equipment, but practices. So that is something that we have been speaking a lot about. And in that, you have, again, you see a program that the Commissioners of Police spoke about it a few weeks ago, and that is establishment of a unit, a purpose unit that will focus on schools, troubled schools.
Yes.
Now the PEP in our policy has one that is called a truancy patrol. That is a patrol that is designed specifically to work in the education system, working with schools. It goes as far as certain troubled schools to have police officers, senior police officers, that would sit on PTA boards to assist and work closer with the school, and with the parents and the children. Yes. It's all part of national security. Okay?
And not just that. I mean, if after a certain, when school has started, and you're seeing school kids walking the streets in uniform, I mean, they need to be picked up and taken to the police station and the parents called. But you see, it's just so many of
because them. That's one of the places where it starts, when they're drifting like that, out of school, and you see them. And then one thing goes to the next. They fall into the wrong company, and then they hook up with these gangs, and the first thing that is established with them is a sense of belonging.
Yes.
And a lot of those issues you will find that are coming from home. In my opinion, there's so much that has to be assigned to fixing this issue that we have. The youth, that's a big part of fixing the crime situation in our country, as far as I'm concerned. I personally believe that we need to involve the religious associations, entities, get them much more heavily involved in the raising of our children. We are fortunate in Trinidad to live in a multiracial society. We have Hindus, Muslims, Baptists, Christians, Roman Catholics, on all sorts. And I think we all need to come together in that general area and bring back a heavy sense of family, Christianity, for the want of a word that I would use to encompass everything. Respect for yourself, respect for authority, and bring it back into our society and start with, our children. That for me, from a national security perspective, that forms a big part. A big part in it,
yeah. But this too, which is to make universal home ownership attainable, to make job creation top priority, encourage foreign direct investment in labor-intensive business partnerships, and to set medium-term national master plan. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the home ownership, because the Prime Minister was on the television talking about HDC and the fact that they're not going to get a very large allocation in the upcoming budget. Now, there was talk about what is the rent for the current homes that have been given out to persons, and he was saying, that they're expecting that the rent from people who have been given homes will help to sustain the HDC. But then somebody on a program mentioned the fact that they were paying like about $3,000 a month in rent. Now, the man working as a security guard, the server working in KFC, is not going to be able to afford $3,000.
There's no way that you can do it.
And what surprised me is that the host of the show could not see beyond that, the fact that the smaller income families are not going to be able to afford a $3,000 rent. You know,
That's that again. That is pie in the sky. You're throwing just loose scraps of food out for people to grow at, in my opinion, because it's impractical. The average when you have a minimum wage of $15 an hour, do the math for security officers, as you said, for persons working in these fast food restaurants, they simply can't afford it, and there's no need for it to be like that at all. And home ownership, yes, it plays a great part in lifting people's morals, their sense of identity, their sense of belonging. So, and there's a lot more that can be done in that area as well, from the construction of the buildings that we use right now, these apartments. When you look at these programs on television, and it's right here, the information is right in front of us here, to see what they're building houses at a total cost of between $600,000 and $700,000.
Which I don't understand.
Right? And we still trapped in a house that you're building a house now for $1 million. You have to build a house from scratch. After you pass through 5 or 6 contractors, I had to throw in that one. And you end up with about $1.5 million.
Yes.
That's a standard 3-bedroom home. So yeah, home ownership plays a critical part. Home ownership for all. And as you know, we talk about zero deposit, interest free over a period of time. These are things that are doable. These are things that are doable, that can be done. These are simple policies that could be implemented. I mean, we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of that here this evening, but these are things that are working in other countries around the world.
That's right. And, you know, if you were to say, well, okay, we want to be able to give pensioners, for instance, a place, somewhere to live, their NIS or their Social Security is only $3,000. So how are they going to?
So when you pay your rent,
you can't buy
how
food,
you paying
electricity,
groceries. It just really, it's quite sad when you really think about it.
Yeah, it just goes to show that the lower income families are not being considered at all.
And it's even more sad when you think that the third richest nation in this side of the hemisphere could find ourselves in this, and that not able to see about our people.
Yeah, it's really sad. And this is the PP's policy with respect to home ownership for all, right?
I think we should identify where the policies are again. Let's remember that our policies are on the website. You can always go and have a look at them. They're posted there, the 21 points. Simple, straightforward, very easy to digest.
Yeah. And this one in particular talks about zero deposit, zero interest for 30 years for your first-time home owners, allowing even minimum wage earners to own a home. Now, also on this particular program, there's someone was calling in and saying, you know, you have people who can more than afford it being given these HDC homes. Some of them have owned 2 and 3, and they're renting it out. Now, the question is, what is the HDC's plan to deal with those particular issues?
My response to that right now would be, close your eyes and tell me what you see. Okay? And I would want to ask the very same question. What is the plan? Well, why is it happening? What is it that is happening there?
Because it's friends and family that are being given the homes, and not truly the people who are in need. Now, they've given out homes, but there's still a lot of homes that are not completed. Because I went to a friend's home the other day, and when you turn into the street, is in somewhere in Chagonas. And if you see the rows and rows of homes, but they have no windows, no doors, they're not painted. And I went to him and I go, what's all of this? He goes, Jan, you ain't see the start of it. Right?
And that's just synonymous with the government's past and present. It's just all a scam. It's where the mismanagement, the combination of mismanagement and fraud that is taking place. That's the result of it. And it is something now that we're seeing daily. We continue to as you say, empower and inform persons. We continue to bring information.
Yes.
We have a host of information. We're not fabricating anything. This is the real McCoy here, and it just keeps happening over and over, and it's mind-boggling to the point where it's frustrating. When I was reading that report earlier on, I mean, it was hard not to hit the screen. You know,
I think one thing we could talk about is the upgrade of the Immigration Detention Center in Arepo. In 2017, they started off with an estimate of $1 million, and then there was a revised estimate of $2 million, and in 2018 there was an estimate of $5 million.
Now, $5 million to upgrade. I don't know how many people have ever seen this establishment. The fence is rotted. It looks like a derelict home. It looks like, I don't know how many of you have seen the house or go down the islands where they used to keep persons centuries ago, well, decades ago, with leprosy.
Right.
The condition. It looks like that. Now, $5 million. And you had the detainees a few months ago on television protested that they're only getting 3 sandwiches a day.
Yeah.
Bread 3 times a day. So what was the $5 million for?
Well, that's just for the structure. Let me see if I could find the one on the food.
But the structure is in the worst condition ever. and that's another thing that we expect people to work in that environment and be motivated to do the jobs that they've been hired to do. And we're just placing everyone at a terrible, terrible disadvantage. Food.
Immigration detention was estimated at $7 million. Food alone.
And people saying all they're getting is bread and butter every day.
Yeah, so who gets the money? And that went up. It was interesting because in 2012, the actual was 2.5 million. 2013 actual was 2 million and change. 2014 was 2.6 million. 2015, 3.7 million actuals. 2016, 5.2 million. And 2017, a revised estimate of 6 million. And it went up by an additional million in 2018.
And I can't understand. I've never been able to understand why there's been that expenditure for that particular arm of the ministry. You have persons that are coming in here that are detained for whatever reason, more than likely for breaking and breach of the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. You need to leave.
Yeah.
You need to, if it is that you have to serve time for whatever crime that you may have committed here, in Trinidad you serve your time, and then you are shipped out.
Correct.
Right now, persons that are deported from the United States, we are not even paid the courtesy to let us know that our authorities don't know any people are coming back. They just arrive.
With a marshal.
They just arrive and say, here,
hold
cheerio.
That's yours.
And when you come and tell me about you can't afford the cost to send these people home, what is it costing you to house we saw. Look at the cost.
Just in
to clothe and feed these people.
And to upgrade.
Right? As opposed to putting them on a plane and sending them back home.
Much cheaper. But I understand that the way that it is done, I mean, look at the incident that occurred with the Venezuelans just being put on a plane and sent back to Venezuela. That caused a whole heap of trauma between the two countries. Right? And then I heard a story of where they were taking 2 detainees back to their home, and when they reached a particular country, they didn't have visas to enter for those people.
Yeah.
So guess what? They had to go back on the plane and come right back home to Trinidad.
That is...
It makes you wonder about the management.
And it's just, when you... Did you see the live that Philip did last week when he called the Ministry of Tourism?
No, I didn't actually.
Did you hear about it? He called the ministry in an attempt to lodge a complaint about what is taking place with the persons on Maracas Beach renting chairs and umbrellas. And the basis of the conversation was that reports are coming into us that persons are being bullied into taking these these chairs and umbrella. I personally have never had the experience, but I've spoken to someone who has had that experience. And in trying to get into contact with the person, first in the beginning it got to the stage, it went from making you angry to horrific to flat out funny. It was flat out funny. He had to speak, he kept being put on. Hello, good day, this man identified himself. I'm trying to speak to whoever is in charge of Maracas Beach. Well, hold on, let me put you on to that person. And he got on to about 3 different persons. Each one saying is not them. At the end of the day, I think he must have spoken to about 8 persons. One person actually hung up on him. Because the person is saying, I have to get back to you with that information. And Philip is saying, well, why don't you just put me on to the person who you're going to seek the information from? And the gentleman just absolutely refused to do that.
Wow.
Until the person hung up on him. Now, and this person is in corporate communications department. Eventually he got on to the head of corporate communications.
Right.
And I don't know what, she promised to deal with it, but she did confirm that those persons are not authorized to be carrying on that trade on the beach. And that's another thing. I personally have no problems with them, with what they're doing. I use it when I go. But at the same time, it's unfair that the other vendors have to be paying to use the facility. They should be also be held to pay some sort of contribution as well, which is simply enough to work out in my view.
Right.
So she acknowledged that. And of course the recommendation that Philip has made that if she would, that very same night, to have all the television networks place a ticker tape that these persons are not authorized to be doing that, and you are no way obligated, and if you are forced, whatever, to report it to the Maracas police station. And we are going to follow it up. Philip and I had a conversation after yesterday. We're going to follow it up to see what was done. But it just shows you the level of incompetence. I mean, it took near 35 minutes to actually get on to the person who was supposed to be responsible for that. And there was little or no help after that. I mean, she was polite and whatever have you, but it was.
But see, again, this is where people just do what they want.
No, it's, and when you're asking, well, what is your job description, job portfolio? The descriptions that you have are way out. I mean, and it just shows you, it leads us right back to the petrol issue where you're overstaffed. People are being brought in to do nothing. A department that could run on 3 is manned by 20.
Yes.
And that has landed us where we are today.
That's correct.
Petrol is a simple fix. Petrol is a simple, just to revise and restructure.
Yes. So, our last one actually, will be the reforming of our prisons. Right?
This is a major role. And before I get into the meat of it, our policy says, rather than transport the prisoners to the court, rather than transport on a daily basis 50 to 60 prisoners to various courts, transport 4 or 5 judges to the prisoners. You reduce your risk, you reduce your expenditure.
And not only that, you reduce the crazy driving that these people do on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, this morning, I mean, the bus was in one lane, the van was in another lane, sirens going off, and of course they had to go around the bend by Roxy there, and it's like what it is.
Pandemonium, yeah.
There's no need for that.
So as we are saying, and you heard the goodly Attorney General say the very same thing. They are now looking into.
Yeah, but how long have they been looking into? Because
this is why I always tell you all in our meetings, why are you fussing and carrying on if these people are supposedly duplicating our policy? It's not going to happen. And I've told you already, if you put a fisherman to drive Mr. Soul in the Great Race, 10 Charles is not going to have the same result. Get the point I'm trying to make? It's just talk. But anyway, so we are saying that is one of the first thing that we're looking at. The other thing is change our prisons into universities. Use it as an entity to educate and make persons skilled to come out back into society, because many of them can. How many times in my line of work I often have the opportunity to be exposed to contractors doing work in various communities, and a chronic issue that has to be dealt with is persons from the community want a job, looking for a job, and it sometimes gets a little, a little unhealthy from time to time. It can get a little scary because people are desperate for employment. Okay, now the larger portion of percentage of them have been incarcerated already, but for silly things. The fact that they're out is minor things.
Right.
But if you could use that opportunity to say to give them a skill set, and we need those things now in society. Everybody looking for a plumber, electrician, a tradesman, a joiner, a painter. Those are the things that we need right now, and those things can be done. Make drug courts, make your drug habilitation part of your sentence.
Yeah.
To assist so many persons who struggle with drug addiction. So turn your prisons into universities is something definitely.
And it's interesting because I went to a talk at the central bank the other day, and there was a chap from the US who is into education, and this was one of the things that he brought up, the fact that we should be looking to turn the prisons into universities, because when they go into prison, yes, they have their chores and so on to do, but it gives them that hope by knowing that, okay, when I come out, I can go and get a job and I can start earning money right away. A lot of them
you can
go
start
back.
working for yourself right now.
Exactly.
In this country, somebody that is a skilled, as I just said, plumber, electrician, some appliance technician, train persons to repair appliances. Those are things that people are always looking for. Always looking for. Now, in my business, you can't work for me if you have done prison time. But that doesn't mean you can't contribute to society.
Correct.
Right? I would bring a plumber to my home who was incarcerated already. Okay? I mean, you don't want to condemn people for life.
Yeah.
So, again.
And the reason they will go back to crime is because they can't get a job. And
there's no hope.
They
Exactly.
need to feed their families, they need to eat, they need to buy clothes, they need to pay rent somewhere. So it makes you wonder, why is it we waiting so long? Why is it we just can't seem to get it right?
Well, we know why. That's why we do what we do. That's why we are here tonight. We know why.
Yes. Educating and informing the public of what it is we are all about. And I really want to reiterate that what you have seen here tonight are the policies of the Progressive Empowerment Party. There are people who are purporting the same policies but dressing it up in a different format. But the basic underlying is the policies of the party. So I decided to take this opportunity just to let you know where the original policies came from.
Yeah, I have to plug that one. Okay.
Yes.
Take one on that one, Janet.
Well, no, the people need to know. It's like
the people know. The people know.
It's like I was watching TTT this morning, and Talk City 91.1, I think FM, is now having a Frontline talk show. I thought, you see, here we go again. Taking copying the PP.
Well, you know how to fix that.
Yes, I'm going to be dealing with that, definitely. Because I don't want people thinking that it's a talk show of the Progressive Empowerment Party. There's just so many other names that can be used as other than Frontline. So, as we come to the close of our segment, I would like to invite members to tell your friends and family about our regular meetings. employee screening for the job seekers, and housing initiatives. Every Saturday from 12 noon at 19 Stanmore Avenue, Port of Spain. Come and add your voice to the frank and open discussion and express your opinions. It is very important that you need to express your opinions and your frustrations. Executives of the party will be here to answer any questions you may have. Remember, we are here to inform, empower, and to make you aware of what is going on in Trinidad and Tobago. Don't forget that you can become a volunteer and can serve on any of our committees or teams that include the National Executive, Constituency Executive, Constituency Representative, Youth Arm, Women's Arm, Security Team, or even the Gender Arm, because I think they tend to put youth and women into the Gender Arm, Events Committee. So why, you would ask yourself, why do you want me to volunteer? We believe that citizens should have a say in how they are governed. So we invite persons to volunteer, to serve within our organization and help advance the vision and the mission of the PEP, the Progressive Empowerment Party, one people under one flag. The party is a volunteer organization that depends solely on the contributions from our members to keep us funded. Our mission is to contest the next general elections, which will require significant funding. The PEP is guided by principles of transparency and accountability, and we assure you that your generosity will be used solely for the advancement of the organization as we work our way towards a better Trinidad and Tobago. The Progressive Empowerment Party will be working for you and to ensure that no citizen is left behind. So please, we encourage you to become a financial member. This Saturday, we will be having our regular PEP meetings, but we are also going to be having our barbecue, which is going to be held from 12 o'clock, I believe. Yes. So we will be liming.
Actually, I don't know if we're going to have the meeting this Saturday because of the barbecue.
Well, no, we will end up having a meeting because, we're going to be relaxed and we can either talk politics or politricks. Take your pick. And I do believe, too, that there's going to be some all four games. So if you are all for fanatic,
let's come down and let's have a good time. Let's
that's
just come
right.
down. Forget the politics. Let's just come down and do some bonding.
Yeah, yes, I agree. We can do some bonding as well. But the politics is what brings us together. Okay, so right now we want to be able to, I should say the barbecue is one of our forms of trying to raise funds. And, we try to encourage our members to donate whatever little you can, because in order to take part in the next general elections, it's going to cost us a lot of money. And with your help, we will be able to do all the things that is going to be needed in order for us to win the next elections. Remember that when the Progressive Empowerment Party gets into government, not into power, but into government, it is going to be our job to serve you, the people, not serve ourselves. So we would like for you, our members, to keep that in mind as well. So please come and break bread with us, and to sponsor any of our various fundraising activities. I think the one that we have next card, it would be like a Christmas family day. Yes?
Yes, I think that's next on the agenda.
Right. So, just put that on your calendar for now, and know that we want to try and talk to the people on the ground. Bring your family, bring your friends. Take part in being on a committee. Take part in volunteering your services. Because at the end of the day, this is your party. And we need you. We need your help in order to make Trinidad and Tobago a better country. Because I don't know if you know it, but a lot of people are still leaving Trinidad and Tobago, and the middle class are selling their businesses and moving away. Now, when the middle class moves out, it's going to affect the jobs situation as well, and also the economy on a whole. So we have got to make Trinidad a better place, and by voting for the Progressive Empowerment Party, you will get a better Trinidad and Tobago. When we do the next segment next week, Thursday, and you hear all about the different things that's been going on in terms of China and what the previous and current government have done, you are going to be amazed. Do you know that, for instance, we keep talking about the lake asphalt. An agreement was signed with the PP government for things to be done with lake asphalt. And I understand it was done again on with the Chinese delegation here. So stick up in the net. I'm still doing some research. I'll be bringing all the information to you. And I noticed that some of the things that were mentioned, because MOUs were signed for, like, for instance, sports, health. We were supposed to have gotten at least 100 Chinese doctors to work in our hospitals, but I don't think that quite happened.
You know, we could just go on and on and on with this whole night into tomorrow. And it's just so much that is so wrong and so broken. The time is upon us, that the time is here now to stand united in fixing Trinidad and Tobago. Everyone has an opinion, and you know, we must respect that, everyone's opinion.
Of course.
The PEP, Progressive Empowerment Party, has demonstrated and continues to demonstrate that we have the plans, we have the policies to fix every problem in Trinidad and Tobago. We are out there, we're taking our messages to the people in the various communities. It's not a question of just being online warriors. So we encourage you to get involved. I want, for my children, I'm 53 now, my time is, I don't intend to live till 100, and I'm hoping by the time I close my eyes that we could at least get back to the days when, you remember those days when you could go to the beach houses and leave the doors open at night? I'm hoping we could get back to that. That's one thing I would like to see happen in Trinidad and Tobago, and along with a host of other things. We need to get involved at some level. We're not asking you to come and stand on a platform, but get involved. Bring your expertise. Come down, share your expertise with us. We will listen, and let's work together to bring back Trinidad to where it was and what we could still get it to experience the full potential of what God has given us.
And not just that, we have a lot of Trinidadians and Tobagonians who are living outside and who want to come back home.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting ready to retire in the next couple of years, and they don't want to have to stay in the cold. They want to come back home to the sunshine. I mean, I have a brother-in-law who's Canadian, and he does not want to stay in Canada. He wants to live here in Trinidad.
You know, people have what they want to say about how, you know, Philip could bray and carry on. Sometimes, you know, something folks, it's more important to listen to what somebody's saying rather than how someone is saying. You know, I try to draw a reference all the time, as if someone is telling you, you need to get out of the road where you're standing because in a few minutes you're going to be run over by a truck, and then they're adding in some adjectives. You're going to stand up in the road simply because of how they're speaking to you, or you're going to listen to what they're doing and get out. And then deal with that aspect of it after.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's more important to listen to what someone is saying. We don't fabricate information. We don't misrepresent. We tell you what's here. What we are seeing here tonight, what we told you, it's available for you to see as well.
Online. And it's from the ttparliament.org website as well.
More importantly, it's time to get involved. It's time to get involved, and just hoping that it's all going to go away, because it's not. It's getting worse. Every morning you get up, we are deeper and deeper in the hole.
Correct. You know, when I was driving through St. James for the last couple of days, remember when I did my video on the 5 water leaks?
Yes, yes.
And then eventually WASA came and fixed it, and then I got ill after that. There are 2 water leaks right now, pouring water in St. James. And, you know, and the road itself is like the Bocas, because there are so many potholes that you have to be dodging right now in St. James. I feel very, very, I feel empathy for the people of St. James, because at the end of the day...
I don't know. Tony, you think it's something that we can maybe able to zoom something on my phone here? This is a photograph that I took. I don't know how you see it there, Tony. You could recognize that? You seen what that is? That, ladies and gentlemen, is a caiman in the river by Westmoreland, just opposite the international school.
What?
Okay, what you see there, that's my son took that picture while we were in traffic, a caiman. That just goes to show the absolute lack of maintenance.
Oh my
That's a caiman. Look at the size of that. That's over 4 feet, that's nearly 5 feet long.
That is not good.
In a drain, not a river, it's in a drain, a storm drain that is meant to allow water to, because of the lack of maintenance. A caiman, plural, is now living in this environment. And that is in the direct constituency of the Prime Minister, Lego Martin West.
And
7 o'clock in the morning.
also, that is in a very posh area as well.
It's irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, we deserve better than that.
That's right.
We deserve better than that.
That's right. Well, I hope we don't have any situations with that caiman.
Well, I told some of my friends who live in that area to make sure that their pets are locked up. Because we're waiting until something happens.
Well, not just the pets, but humans.
Yeah.
That thing can run, you know.
Of course.
That thing can give you a good run for your money. And you really don't want to be around when
all the more reason why you need to get involved. We need, you know, everyone has to get on board. Everyone has to get on board.
Okay then, I think we have put our message across tonight. So, we would like to acknowledge all our members and thank all of our viewers. To those of you who are on the roads, please be safe, especially with a caiman on the loose. Good night.
Good night, folks.
I hope we'll see you.